Most men don't lose her because they weren't enough. They lose her because they panic at the first sign of distance. They overtext, overexplain, overchase, and slowly, they turn attraction into pressure. But here's what no one tells you. In relationships, emotional control is more attractive than emotional intensity. And Stoicism teaches one dangerous truth most people never learn. You don't control how someone feels about you. You only control who you become when they start pulling away. So before you beg, chase, or emotionally collapse, watch this till the end. Because what you do in the next few moments of distance decides whether you lose her or lose yourself. The real reason she starts to pull away. Let's remove fantasy and ego for a second. When someone becomes distant, it's rarely random. It usually happens in silence, long before you notice. Not because she stopped liking you overnight, but because something in the emotional dynamic shifted. And there are only three real reasons. 1. Familiarity replaced curiosity. At the start, there was uncertainty. You were unpredictable, new, interesting. But over time, routines form. Predictability increases. And human psychology does something brutal here. What is predictable stops feeling emotionally alive. 2. Emotional imbalance. If one person starts over-investing emotionally, the dynamic becomes heavy. Not because love is bad, but because pressure kills polarity. 3. Self-loss in the relationship. When a person slowly stops prioritizing their own life, they don't become more lovable. They become more dependent. And dependency is the opposite of attraction. Stoicism doesn't say, stop loving. It says, stop abandoning yourself in the process of loving. There is always a moment, a shift, a delay in replies, less enthusiasm, more space. And this is where most men destroy everything. Not because they're bad men, but because they react emotionally instead of intelligently. They do things like double texting, asking are you okay, over-explaining feelings, trying to fix everything immediately. But here's the Stoic principle. You don't stabilize chaos by joining it. You stabilize it by staying grounded inside it. When one person panics, the dynamic collapses. When one person stays calm, the dynamic recalibrates. Not through manipulation, through emotional leadership. Stoicism and love. Stoicism doesn't teach you to become cold. It teaches you something far more powerful. Emotional ownership. That means you can love someone deeply without losing yourself in their reactions, without begging for certainty, without needing constant validation. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. In relationships, this translates to, you don't control her distance. You control your response to it. And there are only two responses that preserve your power. 1. Calm engagement. If she reaches out, you respond normally, not overly excited, not withdrawn, just grounded. 2. Self-directed focus. If there is distance, you don't collapse inward. You redirect energy into your life. Gym, work, purpose, discipline. Because attraction doesn't survive emotional emptiness. It survives self-directed strength. The truth about chasing. Chasing is not love. Chasing is anxiety disguised as effort. When you chase someone who is pulling away, you are not increasing connection. You are increasing pressure. And pressure does one thing. It turns emotional space into emotional suffocation. But here's the paradox most men don't understand. When you stop chasing, you are not playing games. You are restoring balance. Because attraction requires two grounded individuals, not one pursuer and one avoider. What to do when she pulls back? This is where Stoicism becomes practical. When you sense distance, do not panic, interrogate, overtext, assume worst-case scenarios. Instead, do this. Step 1. Pause emotional reaction. Not everything requires immediate response. Step 2. Match energy, not fear. If communication decreases, you don't compensate with excess attention. You stay consistent. Step 3. Recenter your life. Your life should never collapse because someone else stepped back. Because if it does, you were already emotionally dependent. And dependency is always felt, even if unspoken. The power of detachment. Detachment is misunderstood. It does not mean, I don't care. It means, I care, but I don't abandon myself. When you are detached, you don't react emotionally to every shift. You don't attach your worth to attention. You don't chase uncertainty. And ironically, this is what creates respect. Because emotional stability is rare, and rarity is always noticed. If she comes back, one of the biggest mistakes men make is thinking return equals resolution. It doesn't. If someone comes back after distance, you don't restart the old dynamic automatically. You observe. You stay calm. You see consistency, not words. Because anyone can return emotionally once. But not everyone can sustain connection. So your mindset is simple. I don't reward return. I observe behavior. The Stoic truth about love. Here is what most people get wrong about relationships. They think love is something you chase. But love doesn't respond to pursuit. It responds to alignment. And Stoicism teaches you this. Don't beg for attention. Don't collapse under uncertainty. Don't abandon yourself for connection. Don't confuse anxiety with love. Because the strongest relationships are not built on chasing. They are built on two people who are whole on their own. And when you reach that state, you don't fear loss. You don't panic at distance. You simply choose wisely. And that is the real power. Not control over someone else, but control over yourself.